Welcome to Yelling Into the Void, a podcast discussing and exploring topics in World of Warcraft. I'm Tevin, joined as always by Scott.
Hi.
Arakara and Halls have been nerfed, Scott. What do we complain about now?
Don't worry. If we try hard enough, we'll find something.
You think?
Oh yeah. Only thing for
what do you think it'll be? Like, let's rub the crystal ball real quick. What are we going to complain about next week on the episode?
I'm gonna complain about renown tracks and crest caps and valor stones. Valor stones always perpetually.
That's fair. I was looking more for a dungeon, but you know what? I'll take those. That's fine.
All right. Well, Priory going to the right path. I'm going to complain about that because I don't know who told people that was the better path to go. But they're stupid, dumb people, and I don't like them.
There's a tank we play with that goes right.
I know. He's a stupid, dumb person, and I don't like him.
Well, Scott, there's been a couple of things that have happened over the last week as far as dungeon nerfs are concerned. Obviously, Arakar and Halls. Raid bosses have been nerfed. This is just the beginning of what happens throughout the season. Specifically, Mythic, I think, is being targeted right now. Class balancing and everything that comes along with that. You know, Discords are finally reopening because their classes are getting tuning. And
hooray.
Yeah, can we just say, like, that is probably the best meme that's ever come out of, like, a season just in general. I mean, that ranks up there with the I'm going nonverbal shit.
Yeah, I guess for those that perhaps don't know, the Ret Paladin Discord went crazy. Or maybe we should just blame like one person in the Ret Paladin Discord and not blame every single Ret Paladin for this. But they shut down their Discord until such a time that Blizzard buffs their class, which I'm sure like there was an emergency meeting at Blizzard HQ. It was like, dear God, they've shut down the class Discord. We got to solve this right now. No, nobody cares. Nobody cares.
But Scott, it worked. They got buffed.
It didn't work. They got buffed because they were planning on buffing them anyway because they looked at the numbers. They're not paying attention to fucking class Discord drama. The stupidest thing in the world.
I don't know. I just like that how in solidarity the Ret Paladins once again closed their class Discord for the Boomkins though this time instead of well, I guess they kind of made like their own Boomkin section and they closed
They created a new section of their Discord and then immediately closed it. And it worked again because they got buffed. It's incredible.
I'm telling you, man, it works. Like, you're joking about it. They didn't have these emergency meetings at Blizzard, but from my end, it looks like it's working.
I can assure you people that Blizzard does not give a flying fuck about your stupid Discords.
Well, on the other hand of things that happened in this past week, Scott, we got a pretty unique upgrade from the upgrade track for the raid. And like, we'll go into a little bit more detail in this once we get to this segment of today's show, because the upgrade track for the raid is something like I want to talk about. We've talked about it in the past, specifically for Undermine. We kind of talked about it at the release of this season, but I feel like it's something that we need to revisit because it is fairly significantly different from what was in Undermine, and when it was in Undermine, it was new. So we need to keep kind of taking a retrospective look at this and see how things are going, I think.
Sure. Is it that different from Undermine? I don't know if I felt it's that different.
I feel like the rewards are like significantly different. Like actually impacting the trash. Like you still get your teleport and stuff, but I don't know. I feel like the Undermine ones seem like it was a lot of cosmetic stuff. And then you would get like your damage increase every now and again. But they're like doing the power increases in different ways with this one.
So, I mean, with this week's one specifically, yeah, but everything else has basically been cosmetics or power increase or like you eat faster or you run faster, which I think are all the same that they had in Undermine.
I do think that the eating faster one, again, was in Undermine. I think that's hysterical in an expansion in which they like introduced hearty food
Yeah.
where you don't have to eat in between each boss.
Yeah, it's very funny. Like, I mean, it's just like sometimes you just throw stuff at the wall. And it's like, we want to do this renowned track. We got to fit so many levels. What are we going to do? And then it's just like, well, this. Um, we haven't got the wipe protection one yet. I think that there's one for that. I need to actually check what the track is.
Mm-hmm. Well, the other thing to really note here, I guess, going for the news section, I feel like a lot of the players who are doing like heroic level rating / doing like 10 plus keys, maybe even a little lower, are getting to the point that they're 7-10 item level now, which means we're getting to the point of a lot of people being in the waiting room for turbo boost. And I don't know when that's going to be coming, because that's coming along with the belt nerfs, right? I believe those are both coming in the same patch.
Yeah, they've said it's coming in 11.25, which will also have Legion Remix in it.
Mm-hmm. So we know the release of Legion Remix, or
Do
at
we?
least the tentative. Didn't they release the dates?
I don't think
The
so.
window at which they wanted to be in? I thought they did.
No, I mean, I think they said when it's going to end.
Oh, yeah. True.
I guess there was a post I saw. No, there's a post from 27 days ago saying, from Mr. GM saying Legion Remix is set to begin on October 7th.
Yeah.
But I don't think they've made any official announcement yet. But I think the timing of that actually does line up.
That might be what I was remembering, was his post from Mr. GM.
Yeah.
So I want to say Wowhead might have done an article on this.
I mean, I think like if you look at like the thing I'm judging off of is like crest cap. So right this week we're at 450 gilded crests, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think we normally get to about 900 or 990 before they unlock the crest cap, which usually happens at the same time as like stuff like turbo boost and things like that. So let's just do some quick math here. If it's October 7th, that's 4 weeks away, right? So that's another 360 crests. So that's a little lower than normal. That'll put our total crest earn for the season at 810, which is a little under when they've unlocked the crest cap in the past.
We do also need to take into consideration, we don't legitimately know when Midnight is releasing yet. Because
Correct.
Blizzard has an extremely conservative date on the Midnight pre-release. I can almost guarantee you the date that's on there is not going to be the date it releases. It says it will release before this date, but a lot of people will look at that and be like, oh, well, it's going to release, on this day. I think that's an extremely conservative date.
Yeah, so this is a legal thing that they do, like to take pre-orders and have pre-order bonuses. I think in the EU there are a lot like consumer protection laws about this, that you have to have a like maximum date of you will get this honor before this date. They've done this in the past few, and it's usually like 3 to 4 months ahead of when it actually releases. Like they're just being very conservative, right? So they've said honor before June 30th, I think is the one they said for the Midnight pre-release. And a lot of people have taken that and like freaking out. It's like, Midnight's not coming out till June? No. Midnight is probably coming out in February, would be my guess. February or March. I'm leaning towards February. They're just being ultra conservative here. So yeah, I mean, like if you would like, normally in my head, the turbo boost stuff, the .5 patch, even like Legion Remix would come at about the midway point of the season, right?
Yep.
I would need to do quick math, and I'm not good at this, but would October 7th be the midpoint of the season, if we're going with a February release date? I don't think so.
What day did the season start? Do you remember? 5 weeks ago? 4 weeks ago?
It was 5 weeks ago. Because we are this week we are on the 6th track of the raid Renowned, which we started on the first track to get a new one.
Okay. So. Yeah, but the raid didn't come out until the week of the 12th, and then my son was born the next week, so that would have been the second week of the raid.
Yeah, so we've just about hit a month with the patch or with the season.
Yeah.
So having Turbo Boost happen, having caps removed, having Legion Remix come out 2 months into a season feels a little fast, considering seasons are typically 6 months. And by the way, February lines up perfectly with the season being 6 months, right? If we go, you have April, September, October, November, December, January, February. That's 6, right? So I don't know though. Maybe people are moving through gearing faster. Maybe they're going to do the turbo boost earlier. I don't know. But it does, like, I agree with you. Like, my character is 612 or 712 right now. I've reached the point where I haven't upgraded all my hero stuff to max level. But my hero stuff is very close to being max level. So I'm very close to just every 2 weeks I have a new crafted item to build. And then every week I get maybe a myth track item that I can then spend the crest that week upgrading fully. And that's going to be where I'm at. So if that's where I'm at, I think that's where probably most people are at. If you're like, we were doing 10s week 2. I think we got 110 done week 1, but we've been doing 8 10s since the second vault. And so if you're like that, even if you're not a mythic raider, which we aren't, you're probably, I think you're right. You're probably hitting pretty close to that. Oh, I'm running out of stuff to do. As far as gearing is concerned, but
Yeah, it brings a good question though. Like, if we're assuming this is going the length that it's going to go, into October, or honestly even a little longer, based off the math that you and I just did, are we looking like we're going to get closer to the like 720 mark of item level before turbo boost, you think? Because what is a fully upgraded myth piece is 724? Is that right? 723? Yeah, so it'll go up to 729, or if they want to be nice, 730 would be cool, but doubt they'll do that. Yeah, so we're going to get close to the like 720-ish, maybe 717. Should be what most people are looking to like achieve prior to turbo boost.
Yeah, so max heroic gear is 710, right? So you have your 730 cape. If you have all heroic slots maximum upgraded, you'll be at 710. Then you add some crafted items in. Then you add a few myth track items in. I would say most people will be in the high teens by then. So yeah.
Yeah, because crafted items are 720, and I mean at that point we're gonna have so many crafted items. Like,
yeah, we hit our 4th crafted item next week, right? So that's it's kind of crazy.
Unless you're a Fury Warrior, then you get your second.
Yeah, I mean it's technically only my 3rd because I have a 2-hander. But yeah, who cares? I mean, especially with like with most people wearing the belt still, and obviously, they're going to nerf the belt, so you'll have to get a new belt. But we have the cloak spot done, with the cloak spot filled with the cloak, with your number of crafted items, boots. Yeah, like this is kind of a topic for maybe another day, but like we broached this topic earlier. That's just the idea that so many of your slots are spoken for already is a thing that is really fascinating to me. And I don't know if in like a negative way or a positive way, but it's just like, it is just very interesting how many of your slots are just, exactly, there's like one item you want in that slot, and you're either going to just be waiting for it, or or in the case of crafting stuff, you're just going to get it. So it's interesting.
It does kind of bring us back to the realm of like having actual BIS lists, I think, because like for the longest time, gear was kind of like up for interpretation. Like, you wanted the piece that was going to best round out the pieces that you currently have.
Yeah.
And now you have like over half your slots, or around half your slots, on lock. And it kind of gets you into the situation of like, okay, well, you have your BIS trinkets and those aren't going to change. So like the level for flexibility is so low that like I feel like we're just like this close to just being able to put BIS lists up again and just go from that.
Yeah, and I don't know if that's good. Like, I mean, there's a part of me that doesn't want to have to stress about gear, and so just the fact that I look at my character and I'm like, okay, I've got all these slots taken that I don't even have to worry about. There's part of that that's nice, and there's part of that's like, well, the fun of the game is like kind of figuring out gear and which method of acquiring what and that kind of thing, and that RPG element is just kind of It's another RPG element that's just kind of gone out of this game.
Mhm.
And yeah, I don't know how I feel about it ultimately.
Well, I do want to say, if Blizzard is listening, please let the turbo boost gear go to 730 if it's a Mythrack piece, and 726 if it's not. I'd appreciate that.
Well, like a
If it's
heroic
crafted.
track, so they up it by 2 levels, right? Everything's going up 2 levels is the way they've done it previously. So,
That's
H
normally 3 item levels each, right?
they're normally 3 item levels each, but sometimes they do 4, right? Sometimes so I actually think that in the turbo boost 730 will be the max for a myth track item.
Okay.
Um, but I think it's going to be 7 you have to look because like you can upgrade a myth track item right now. Does it hit 717, 723, 7 or 717, 720, 723? I think if it does that, then the max hero track items will be 717. Um,
Gotcha.
but I'm not
Yeah, I
sure.
haven't actually looked. I just, whenever I have crests, throw them on my Mythrack
Sure.
items
I mean,
and
yes, me
ignore
too. But
it. um, Anyways, I guess that's enough for Turbo Boost. Like, we're gonna have Dinars again. You know how Scott and I feel about Dinars.
well, but they
Hopefully, they're
haven't.
done a little bit
Yeah,
different.
they haven't said any information about like how they're doing it, right? Like they've said that they're bringing them back, that they will have them, but they haven't released any detailed information about how it's going to work, what it's going to do. Um, I would hope, their argument in season 2 was we don't want to give people these ultra powerful myth track items that carry them really far into the next season. I would hope for the end of the expansion season that you just fucking give people the myth track items, because what are they gonna do with those items? How are those items gonna fuck up the next season? They're not. It's an expansion release. They're gonna be replacing everything anyway. So just like my hope for the Dinar, even if it's not a permanent change and just a this season change, is they just do away with this whole hero track myth track nonsense, and just if you get the Dinar, you spend it on the myth track version, and that's just
Mhm.
it. Just give people 3 myth track items. It's not that big of a deal. It's halfway through the season. Like, fuck it. Just do it.
Yeah.
That's what my hope is. But they haven't said anything about that yet.
It'd also be cool if it was any item instead of just weapons and trinkets and jewelry.
Yeah, I don't think that.
That's probably not gonna
I
happen.
don't think they're
They've
doing
never
that.
done that before.
Well, but the
So
question is like, are they going to do stuff with cantrips on it, right? So I think normally they do stuff with like a good example is the boots, right? Are the boots that everyone wants that are BIS for everyone, are those going to be Dinar
God, I
purchasable?
hope so.
I really hope so too. I really hope so.
I can't tell you how many times I've either lost those boots or been on the wrong character to receive the boots that have dropped.
I just like I don't want to lose my shit about gear because fucking I don't care. Like ultimately I don't care about gear, but fucking killed heroic last week. Leather boots dropped. Lost a roll to a guy that immediately bounced from raid and hasn't been back since. And I just want to die a little bit.
Hey man, that's how it goes though. That's how it goes.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we've talked a little bit about Turbo Boost. Like I said, I don't think that there's really much else to cover here. There's a lot of speculation that Scott and I can have around like what Turbo Boost is going to be this season. I can't imagine it's going to be too much different from last season. How
No.
Dinars are going to operate, and then we have the belt nerfs coming in as well. I think that based off of what I have been hearing, the belt nerfs are significant enough that this should no longer be anybody's BIS item.
Which is that makes sense because I think that's the goal. Which is they just like I know we've like at Broken Record and we've complained about these weird things they do, these mid season things that they're like this should carry you a little ways into next season, and then they just always end up being like BIS for people, and it's like oh wait, didn't see that one coming. It's definitely going to be like an immediate replace for me. I think based on what I've seen with Resto Druids, like it was already if you're getting like if you have a myth track belt, definitely replace. Even if you have maybe a fully upgraded hero track belt, it might be enough to replace it.
Mhm.
Certainly if you craft a piece, it would be enough to replace it. So I was already planning on doing that. but now I'm just going to kind of wait. So like I'm going to craft a ring next week, and then probably the next spark available after that, if October 7th is truly the release date, that's when I'll probably send it for the belt.
Yeah.
Unless I get some myth track belt in the vault, we'll see.
I do want to say too, we kind of said this earlier, but didn't say it explicitly. The belt nerfs are not in. I had to correct a few people on that this past Tuesday. Like they announced the nerfs, but then nerfs are coming in 11.25.
Yeah, it was specifically something they added to the PTR
Yeah.
for testing. Yeah.
So they are not live. So
No.
do not like the belt is still as good as it was prior to Tuesday.
Yeah.
It is going to stay that good until we get the 11.25 patch.
Yep.
All right. Let's talk a little bit about some of the dungeon changes that happened, Scott, because man, oh man, there's a little bit to talk about here. I think let's start with Arakara. I think less impactful changes to Arakara, essentially just kind of toning down the damage that's going to be happening.
Yeah.
And nothing really super significant past that.
I would like to issue a formal apology to the internet. Last week I said that Halls of Atonement was clearly the hardest dungeon in this season's rotation. I had not attempted an Arakara above a level 10 when I made that remark. And this week I tried to do several 12 Arakaras and was completely unsuccessful in every single one of them. That dungeon sucks. So any changes, even small ones, to make that dungeon a little bit better, I'm pretty for. Because yeah, that somehow it became the hardest dungeon when it was one of the easier ones back in season 1. Everything they did just made it impossibly hard in places. I think it had the lowest success rate of any dungeon this season.
I'm confused what happened to that dungeon, because on paper you would think that the season 1 version of Arakara was harder because you had a harder final boss and you had the unknown of going into the season on like what you needed to fight and everything like that. But they just like ramped up the damage from all of the periodic effects, and they gave those brood guards like a fucking AoE for some reason. Like,
yeah,
it's just wild to me. Like these tiny little things that they did have just like completely put a damper on this dungeon.
Yeah, I mean, it was like the crawlers in the first area, their poison hurts way more. It's basically everything that they nerfed in this pass was stuff that they made harder. Like they made the first boss do more AoE damage, which is crazy. That first boss was already really difficult, and the specific AoE damage they made hurt more was the one where you have swirlies under your feet, which is like, let me tell you, healer's favorite thing in the world is massive amounts of AoE damage while you have to keep moving. It's just like the most fun thing. I just love it.
This is
so
coming
much.
from a resto druid, guys.
Yeah,
it's coming from a resto druid.
I just love so much when I just can't press my tranquility button. I mean, thank God Convoke is like you can channel while casting on Convoke, because holy shit. So they did nerf that a little bit. I could see, especially in high keys, like if you're a healer that has to sit and cast, like how the fuck do you heal that? Like it's just nuts. So good move there. They lowered the recast time on the stupid poison bolts because those were actually insane. And like I think it's funny that I think one of the problems people are having in Arakara is that nobody told the tanks that they made the poison hurt way more, and so tanks are pulling the dungeon exactly like they pulled it in season 1, and it's like, well, like as a resto druid, if you're the only one with a poison dispel in your group, like basically here's how you manage some of these pulls. Everyone has poison on them. You're healing like crazy, and you're just waiting to see who gets a second stack or a third stack of poison, and you're saving your dispel for that. And you're just living with the fact that everyone's going to be poisoned, but you have to dispel someone if they get more than one stack immediately, or they're just going to fucking die. And it's nuts. But yeah, I mean, the changes to the beetle bosses I really hate. Like, I think some of them did that slam. You know how they did like an AoE slam that slowly ramped up over time? But I think it wasn't, the ones in the second area didn't do the slam. The ones in the second area, I think all they did was a frontal, and they of course had the aura around them that made everything around them take reduced damage. So they kept the aura. They added a very painful AoE. And so though that part of the dungeon just really sucks now because it's like that stuff takes forever and it's such a tight corridor. There's so many wandering mobs there. And then you have the alerting shrill guys like that are pretty easy to manage, but still just create another complication on top of it. And that area just sucks now too. They made some changes to the mobs in the final area, like it's not the blood. I think it's the little guys do like a stacking debuff on the tank that just stacks up very, 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 very fast. To the point where like I have a UI that like tells me that yells at me when the tank gets to a certain number of stacks. It's like dispel tank, and I'm like, dude, I'm dispelling on cooldown and it's still stacking up past this. I'm sorry. What do you want me to do? So yeah, I think it is interesting. Just like a bunch of small little changes that just add up over time, because that was the dungeon in season 1 that was basically free until you got to the final boss. And the final boss was a pug killer because it was so easy to fuck up and die on it. And now it's kind of the exact opposite, where I think if you make it to the final boss, you're probably going to be okay because they have made that final boss significantly easier.
Yeah. And I mean, in a reasonable key level too, you're not dying to getting sucked in. Like,
Yeah.
You probably will die if you don't have somebody keeping an eye on you after you get hit by it or you get knocked into Narnia, but it doesn't just outright kill you anymore. At a reasonable key level. Obviously, in high key levels, you're still going to die.
Of course.
In one shot.
Which you should. You should. But yeah, I mean, like, I think in 10s, it's technically survivable. If you burn like a personal, you can live through it.
Well, I think that, I don't know. I always get in my head when it comes to these dungeons where it feels fine until the final boss, which is what Arakara was before.
Mhm.
It's what a Taldazar was.
I fucking hate that.
And there
place.
was, God, there was one dungeon we literally talked about last season that was like this as well. That is just slipping my mind.
I don't know what that could be.
I don't remember. Anyways, I hate those dungeons where it's like everything is fine until the final boss, and you even have enough time to do like 2 or even 3 pulls of the final boss, but you still are like not timing it because the final boss is so hard.
Yeah.
There is something special that I just detest about that. So I'm happy for the way that Arakara is right now. I'm happy for the nerfs that came in, but they weren't anything like super game changing. Now, Halls, on the other hand, is like a completely new fucking dungeon. I don't know if you've been in there since the changes yet, Scott.
I have not.
But they have removed so many bolters from the packs around the like shards that it is insane how different it is.
Thank Christ. Like, you know, I think that's one thing we complained about was like there's so many bolters in these packs. And the fact that there's like you need to pull so much of the dungeon now. Like you have to pull so many of these really deadly, really painful packs that just bolt you to death. So I am very excited to get in there and try it out. I definitely think it's an easier dungeon than Arakara was, at least last week. But yeah, I bet it's going to be even easier than that now.
How do you feel about Blizzard like essentially forcing us to pull the slashers at this point? So they increased the slasher count for anybody who's
like
unaware.
50%, right?
50%.
I think they went up to 10 count to 15 count. Yeah, I mean, I don't love those mobs. I guess it's this weird thing. So obviously, like for those that don't know, the way this dungeon worked is you had the Shadowlands Covenants, and if you were Venthyr, right, basically you were able to mind control one of these gargoyles and help it, and you have it help you blow up trash. And this was actually like a really, really useful thing. Like these gargoyles, incredibly powerful. They did just a huge amount of damage throughout your key to help you clear this stuff. They got rid of that. Makes sense. We don't have covenants anymore. They left the gargoyles though, and they're still pains in the ass. And so like I'm glad that they have made them worth more count, but they're just like they're just annoying mobs. Like, I think you still kind of probably want to pull as few of them as possible. But they're worth so much now that you're probably going to be pulling them. I don't I hate any mob that does like a AoE damage that's also an interrupt. Like, especially as a ramp healer that needs to pre-plan for damage. Like, the ultimate thing for me is that like a bunch of healing goes out right as the damage event happens, and of course a thing that does an AoE damage and interrupts you at the same time. Like, I just can't do that. I just can't do it. And it's so ingrained in me to be like ramping and preparing to like hit a wild growth or to hit a bunch of casts like right as a damage event goes off that like I fucking lock myself all the time, and it's so annoying. So I don't like those mobs. I'm glad they're worth more now, but I still don't love them.
There's also a tank knockback on those mobs, and there's a non-zero number of times that my tank has gotten knocked off the side of the dungeon fighting the like shard that you have to. So you go into the dungeon, you go left, you fight the first shard, and you jump down and fight the second one. When we're fighting the second one, my tank has gotten kicked off by those mobs multiple times.
Yes. However, that is very funny. So I support it.
Also, if you go right, I've seen tanks get kicked into the courtyard and then have to run back up and pull a bunch of additional mobs.
Yeah. It's just like it felt like a very crowded dungeon with like, I mean, like the other thing is when we played that dungeon in Shadowlands, especially like season 3, like you kill the first boss and then you essentially would just skip everything to the second boss. And the count situation in the dungeon was such that you could do that. Like, you could get enough count in the first area to do that, and they've completely done away with that. And so it's like, I don't know. It's like, you talked about this a little last week. They take these old dungeons, and like part of the fun of bringing back old dungeons is like, oh yeah, I remember when we could do this. And it's kind of this fun nostalgic trip to re-experience those things. But then they like smash changes into them to the point where it like, you're not hitting the nostalgic beats anymore. It just feels like a modern dungeon. And I think that loses a little bit. Like, we saw this with Necrotic Wake. Like, I liked that dungeon until season 1, and then I don't like that dungeon anymore. It's kind of Mists is kind of a similar thing, although there were less changes for Mists, but I think I felt a similar thing. And I really liked Halls, and I'm afraid by the end of the season, I'm just going to kind of feel the same way. So I guess overall, like, I'm happy they made these changes. I can't wait to get into the dungeon and like see how it feels now. Maybe it will feel closer. It won't be exactly the same, but maybe it'll feel closer to what it felt like to run that dungeon in Shadowlands.
Yeah, it definitely is. Between the first boss and the second boss too, the mob density there has been reduced drastically as well.
That's good, because that was stupid, especially when you have the fucking groundskeepers that run off. Like, it was just so easy to accidentally overpull there, and it just was in a not fun kind of way.
Yeah, and there's like 19 different pets, and then you have to like pay attention to the gargoyles and when they're swapping, and if you don't have a weak aura, good luck. Like,
yeah,
it's just stupid, silly for the sake of being nothing other than silly. Quite frankly.
Yep, I agree. Totally agree. Good changes.
Yeah, good changes. It does beg the question though, Scott, like with these changes, and I know you haven't played with both of them yet. But do you think we're in a good spot for the season at this point, or do you think there's additional tuning that we need to take a look at? Any specific dungeons stick out in particular?
Yeah, I mean, I want to speak as intelligently about this as possible, and since I have not played both of these dungeons since the changes, I don't fully know the state of those two dungeons, but just going through the list, I mean, everything else seems in a pretty good spot. Like, Ecodome feels good.
Oh, dude, in Ecodome, can we get rid of like maybe just 1 or 2 of the mob types that like to jump around? Like, I keep all of their other mechanics, but bro, fucking jumping around as a caster and they jump behind you, or I'm playing Demonology and I implode and it just jumps away from the rest of, like, give me a fucking break, man.
Yeah, I wish I had Ursals for every single one of those jumps, but alas, I do not.
There's so many. There's so fucking many. It's
lot.
Multiple different mob types who do it.
And it's annoying that they both have a kick that you need to kick and a jump. So sometimes they'll jump away to someone and then start casting, and you're like, fuck.
Yeah.
But ultimately that hasn't been too bad. I think Floodgate's in a really good spot. I think both of the Tazaveshas are pretty good. Like we talked about Streets last week, probably a little bit over nerf, probably a little too easy. Gambit, very generous on the time. I still think that Dragon Boss could be tuned down a little bit, especially like I'm wondering once we get into like 13s, 14s, 15s, like how that's going to look when that fight drags
Mhm.
on and on and on. But yeah, I mean, everything else feels okay. Like Priory is still a pain. The casters in Priory are still always going to be a pain as you get up to higher key levels. Like we did a 12 last week, and like we had a tank that was just like the combination as a healer, the combination of multiple paladins and priests and mages spam casting stuff is like really, really hard. Like I am fully capable as a healer of uh, um a big paladin AoE lands, and I can, in the 2 seconds before another one lands, I can top everyone off. But you throw random, like suddenly one person's health drops by half because they got hit by a bolt, and it's like I usually can't respond to that in time, and people start
Mhm.
dying, and that's the struggle. And that, I mean, that's always been the struggle in Priory though. I think also like part of that is just people kind of overpull that room. I think you probably don't need, like, there's part of me that wants them to do it, but you probably don't need to pull those paladin packs that aggressively like that. Like it's a key that you actually have a decent amount of time in.
Yep.
It ends up being tight because you get so many one-off deaths to just bad mob combinations and casting and things like that. So like I feel like it's not until like the very, very high keys that you probably need to be that aggressive in that room. I mean, obviously people like to do it because it's fun, and it's fun for me as a healer too. At like because my numbers go up, but um, I don't know how you adjust that other than maybe lowering the recast time for some of those spells that the priests and mages cast. I don't know. I don't know.
My biggest gripe is not with any of the dungeons you talked about, but it is with Dawnbreaker. And not even any of the mechanics or any of the tuning of Dawnbreaker. But that dungeon is still the buggiest dungeon I have ever done in my entire life. Like, if it isn't somebody getting bolted from somebody at the very beginning of the dungeon until they die, or running through and completely just flying through ships, if they can even see the ships half the time, ground effects not always working. Like, I I don't understand how we brought this dungeon back and like none of that was addressed.
Yeah.
It's so buggy still.
Yeah, I mean that's true. It definitely is. I don't like that. I've been lucky enough that I haven't experienced any of the ship bugs this season at all. I mean, not that I haven't experienced them with people in my group, but I personally have not gotten any of the weird ship bugs so far, which is good. The thing actually that really bugs me about that dungeon is the last trash mob before, like the mini boss mob before the final boss, and the channeling like circle ray. I think it's tormenting ray is the name of the ability. I'm not sure, but that ability that she does, where she randomly selects two people and does that. I'm like trying to figure out as a resto druid, like how am I going to handle that in like a 15 or a 16, because that does so much damage and the targets are random. And so like I want to like pre-hot people so I can immediately start bombing heals on them. But I don't know who it's going to hit. So I have to like move very, very quickly and hope that people are burning personals. It's just like, I'm looking at it at like a 12 right now and being like, oh, this is kind of, this is tight for me. Like, I feel like I'm battling losing one of these people every time this
Mhm.
happens. I'm like, I'm just imagining in my head upping that by 3 key levels and being like, how am I going to handle this without someone getting killed? So, I mean,
Yeah.
that's more of a like a profile of my healing in particular that I think some other healers just will easily be able to deal with it. No big deal. Shaman, for instance. But I don't know. I don't know if that needs to be adjusted or lowered or anything, but it was definitely on my mind.
The one thing I have noticed about that mob is the first people it picks are random, but it picks the other two people it did not pick prior for the next beam, I
So
think.
it can pick the tank as well. So I think, yes, you are correct. It will never pick the same two people in a row. But it has 3 options at all times to pick from.
Gotcha.
So it's not like, yeah, like this is something that they did that I really love in Ecodome. Both the circles in the first boss and the javelins in the second boss will pick 2 random people, and then will always pick the other 2 people that it didn't pick in the first time. And I love that as a resto druid, because I'm like, I know you're about to get the javelin. I can pre-hot you and then just be ready to go to bomb heals on you. I love that. That's great. This is close to that, but because it can pick the tank, there is some level of randomness to it. You're right. I can, like, as the thing ends, I can pre-plan and move my life bloom to 2 other characters, and odds are I'll get at least one of them. But yeah, no, it's just it's tough. It's tough.
Who needs to heal tanks anyways?
Yeah, I mean that's true. That's true. I could just ignore the tank there. I guess I'll just do that. I'll just ignore the tank. But sometimes
I
it
don't
can.
know that that's going to work for every tank.
And then, of course, there's the whole thing that it also damages people close to those people, and so you're like wanting to be in melee attack, and like the
Dude,
thing.
if anybody's stacked when that starts,
yeah,
good luck.
You have to pre-spread. Like, you have to pre-spread, and people are very bad, especially in pugs, are very bad at pre-spreading. I know this because of the stupid first mini boss in Priory that does the leap on you and bleed. And watching just over and over and over again as multiple people get the bleed because people aren't spread out just drives me crazy.
Yeah. Well, that's my biggest complaint, is the bugginess. I don't know that there's anything else that sticks out to me like a sore thumb. I completely agree with a lot of the analysis that you said. I think Time Captain Hooktail could use a little bit of looking at. A couple of the mobs that you detailed out definitely could use some looking at. But all in all, I think, like, given these changes, and again, we need to play with them just a little bit more. I've done a dungeon with a couple of them. But the changes that came in on Tuesday, they feel pretty good. And I hope that this gets us into a situation to where we're not really needing a bunch more tuning. But I also hope that in the same vein, if tuning does need to happen, Blizzard isn't like, okay, like Pontius Pilate, we've washed our hands of it. We're done with tuning at this point.
Yeah.
Because they hit that point every season where, like, they don't really touch dungeons anymore. And I hope that it isn't week 4.
I think we're very close to that point. Whether we're very close to that point because they feel the dungeons are in a good spot, or we're very close to that point because the kind of post patch hypercare period has ended now, and they are fully shifting gears to what's next. I mean, most of the team is already working on what's next, but even the support team is eventually going to shift away from the current season. I think we're basically there. I think maybe we could next week see a couple more adjustments based on some data that comes out of the changes this week. Like, I think they're going to monitor, like, is Arakara still, and it's not even is Arakara still like the lowest success rate key. I think they're totally fine with one key being harder than the others. It's just, is that success rate so significantly lower that we have to step in and do something? And I don't know. We certainly will see. I am impressed with them these last 2 seasons. I think they've done a very good job at responding quickly and efficiently with the tuning that needs to happen. This is, like, it's always going to happen. There's always going to be dungeon tuning that needs to happen, and I think they've done a pretty good job this. I'm not going to say this expansion because I think they did a pretty bad job at it in season 1, but I think they've done a good job at it in these 2 seasons of very quickly making those adjustments. So hats off to you, Blizzard. Keep this up for sure.
Well, we need to talk about something that you and I both kind of have a little bit of a sour taste about, and we always kind of bitch and complain about, but that's the boss nerfs for the raid. And it's not even that Scott and I hate nerfing bosses. Like, making bosses easier over time makes sense. It's the reason we get stronger in the raid renown track and things like that. But the changes that they do to Mythic are just not even, like, I don't even know that we call them nerfs at this point. Like, it is like fight reworks on how much they change. Even what they did to heroic Gallywix last season
Dude.
is like a complete and utter change to what the fight was. Like, it isn't even just a nerf at that point. Like, that is a massive change to what the fight was. And I don't like that. I like fight comes out, people learn the fight, people get time to get better at the fight, and if they aren't beating it, power them up via the renown track or gear or whatever. Like, this massively changing the fight thing kind of pisses me off.
Yeah, this is an RPG. Like, this is how it works. Like, you have every person that plays has a different skill level, and they have an ability to do stuff at their skill level. And if you are not at that skill level, the great equalizer is the slow acquisition of power and gear. And so for a person, the best person at the game can kill something week 1. The worst person at the game could maybe kill something week 20. And it's because they have that additional power, that additional gear. The longer I play this game, the more I hate this. The more I hate the idea that we are just we've built these systems. We have gear progression. We have people getting stronger with item level. We have now we have renowned track where every 3 weeks people are just getting a 3% buff to damage and healing. We're also going to bring in turbo boost. It's going to give everyone 6 item level average increase, and going to give them catch up gear that's going to allow them to get their best trinkets and cantrip effects. We're adding all of these things to the game in order to, via those systems, allow people to kill bosses. And yet, we are still designing bosses that, regardless of gear, are just going to be impossible for people to kill. And so we have to literally tinker with the mechanics themselves. I hate it. I think it's bad design. I think it's bad RPG design. I think it's bad for the game. I understand the desire to want a good race. I understand the desire to want to challenge the best people at this game. I get all this. It makes for entertaining TV. We like to talk about the race and all this stuff. I get it. But man, it sucks that is just part of the design philosophy, is that we can do this. We can make a mechanic that is impossible for 99% of the people that play this game, and will never be possible no matter how much gear and percentage they'll get. Like, that is a dumb mechanic. I don't know what the correct percentage of how hard a mechanic should be that what the percentage of people should never be able to do it is. By the way, let's be clear here. I'm not saying that like everyone that plays this game should be able to kill the hardest bosses on the hardest difficulty. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is the idea that it's designed, like the idea that the people that are on Dimensius right now are still some of the best fucking players in this game, right? They are far and above away better than the majority of players. And they also represent a minute number of the player base. They are a very, very small percentage of the player base. And if these people cannot beat these bosses with extra gear and extra buffs, if these people need the boss to be adjusted in order to get over that hump, something is wrong. Something's wrong. And sorry, you got me on a rant here. I hate this. I hate this so much.
No, I completely agree with you. I knew I was going to get you on a rant there because you and I have talked about it before. But I think the other big thing that I hate that Blizzard's been doing a lot of recently is they have kind of just been neglecting small groups. Like, it has been 2 raids in a row now where in Liberation of Undermine, they didn't do like anything about this until way late past the majority of people progging it.
Yeah.
And then, we come into Manaforge Omega, and, week 4 or week 5, whatever the hell, we're seeing adjusted this. So it's easier for 10-man raid group sizes, adjusted this. So it's easier. Like, why? I know you can't create a boss that is going to be perfect for every raid size. I know that is probably almost impossible to do, if not impossible to do.
Yeah.
But like there should be a little bit of like you should never go in as a 10-man group and have a boss like Muggsy or like Gallywix on release where everybody in your group, sans maybe one or two people, has to do every mechanic, and therefore like if you're out one B-res, then it's just a wipe in general. Where if you go in with 3 times the amount of people, you still need the same amount of people to do the mechanic. Like if it was still that 3 times the amount of people needed everyone sans 1 or 2 players to do the mechanic, then it'd be okay.
Yeah.
But the fact that it is such a different like thing, it like that pisses me off.
Yeah, I mean, can I guess at what the problem is here? They don't test at that number of people, right? Like maybe they do some internal testing in a 10-man group, but all of the PTR testing of these bosses, if you're someone that's going to go in and test a boss on heroic, probably going to have 20 to 30 people in your raid, almost certainly. And so how often are these bosses being tested at the 10-man raid size? I don't think enough. And like, yeah, there always is like, there's a certain amount of sacrifice we're going to have to make here to have flex rating. We've talked about this before. I think flex rating is one of the best ideas they've ever come up with in this game. I think it's great. I think the idea that you are still allowed to raid if one of your guys can't make it because life is awesome, and I love it. And part of the cost of that system is that there's going to be breakpoints where things are more challenging or less challenging based on your raid size. However, I do agree with you that it feels like sometimes this stuff is neglected and not considered, that it does become, certain bosses become impossibly difficult at low group sizes. And it shouldn't take a month of data to go, oh yeah, we should probably make it a little bit easier on people at the 10-man size.
Yeah, I mean, nothing screams this more than Muggsy from Liberation of Undermine.
Like the idea that you need 5 people to stack in that thing in a 10-man, it's fucking ridiculous. It's absurd. It's absurd.
Yeah, 5 to stack in a 10-man, but also 5 to stack in a 30-man. Like that is asinine. Yeah. That makes no sense. Why is it not 15 to stack in a 30-man group?
Yeah.
Like if we're holding firm that we need to have half the raid in a 10-man group be in there, why isn't it also half the raid in a 30-man?
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. Stupid. Really
asinine. Stupid. I don't know. As far as the raid goes though, like bitch and complain all I want. Like this raid was pretty good. I enjoy the bosses that are in it. There are a couple of like mechanics and bosses. Like I think, Plexus Sentinel I think is such a cool intro to the raid where it's like you have to use your cape to get through things, but it's not overly complicated. Like it's still a pretty straightforward, good first boss.
Yeah.
But then you go to like Lumathar, and Lumathar is like, I don't know. Lumathar is pretty underwhelming for me. Like I know it's a lot of healing, and I know there's a damage amp, and there's a lot to like about that boss fight, but like it is really just hit the bug until it dies on heroic. Like
I like Lumathar more than the other one whose name I'm blanking on right now.
Soulbinder?
Yeah. I think the Soulbinder fight is the weakest. Well, maybe not the weakest fight in the raid, but I don't particularly like that fight at all. I don't think it's very fun. It's very easy. So I mean, that's good. You don't spend a lot of time on it.
Mm-hmm. I do feel like, I don't know. How do you feel? I feel Plexus Sentinel is a good first intro raid boss, and then it's followed by kind of 2 duds.
Yeah, I mean, I think I like Lumathar a little bit more than you, but I think that's just healer brain. Like there is, the entire second half of the fight is just do as much healing as you possibly can, which is always just fun. But yeah, they're not great. And then Araz is actually really fun. Yep. I think Soul Hunters is pretty fun, actually. I think Fractalus is a little disappointing. Like I actually, like we talked about last week, I'm okay with that being a simple fight. I just think the non-fun part of it is that it becomes, like on heroic, just too easy. It's just too damn easy. I did not kill Nexus King last week, unfortunately. But I think that fight rules. I really like that fight. I think it's very fun to heal. I think the mechanics are very fun. I think it's great. I really, really, really like that fight. And obviously haven't done Dementius on Heroic yet, but I know quite a bit about it. And I think that's a really cool fight as well. So
I do think one of the things that they nailed with Nexus King is, as a DPS player, they kind of nailed the cooldown timings. Like pretty much as any DPS class, you're getting your cooldowns back for the burn phase because the way like the fight timings are for that boss.
Nice. Yeah.
So if you use them on cooldown, and then 3-minute classes should have it back up for the burn. 2-minute classes get another use, and then they have it back up for the burn. And 1-minute classes have their fucking cooldown for every single burn that's ever been in the game ever. So
yeah, it's God, it's such a fun fight. So I mean, it's a high healing fight. There's a lot of damage in this fight, but at least in phase 1, the raid is so stacked that it's just like it feels so chill to heal through. Like you get to do big numbers, but also it's very chill to heal through. Like the last time I had something like this was in Shadowlands on oh my God, why am I blanking on his name? The fucking
Jailer?
No, the mid boss one. It's not. Arthas keeps popping into my head. Anduin, that's his name.
Yeah,
Anduin in Shadowlands.
That's a guy.
That boss was very fun, but there was also a lot of stacking required. So like, here's the thing, folks. Stacking helps your healers, but nobody in this fucking game stacks unless there is a specific mechanic that requires you to stack. Even though there's no mechanic preventing you from stacking, people will not stack. I was looking over some of our Nexus King attempts. I was looking over my videos of the attempts earlier today, and it's really great because like first phase, everyone stacked up, easily pumping healing. Great, it's going awesome. Second phase, you get back from the intermission before the burn phase, and I look, and everyone is like all over the fucking place. And I'm like, there's no reason why we can't all still be stacked up. I mean, you don't have to be. There's no mechanic that requires you to stack up, but we could all just be stacked right on my fucking F-Flow, and it would be great. But nobody does it. So bosses that have mechanics that require you to stack up and also do require a lot of healing feel very good to play as a healer because you just get to benefit from all that stacking, and you force your dumb DPS to fucking stand on top of you and use all these wonderful advantages that every healing class has for people stacked close together. It's great. It's great. Do more of those.
Well, coming back from the platform, I take no damage until the first couple mechanics go out, so I don't stack until after those go out.
You should stack immediately. What you do is you look on the ground, and there's this little green circle of flowers, and you stand in it. That's what you should do.
See, if I'm running to where you're at, then I'm not casting spells, and therefore I'm not dealing damage.
I hate you.
See, I put a port down so that I can port back to where you guys are at. But I stay out because if I get a mechanic, then I don't have to run in to then run out to then run back in. I can stay out. If I get a mechanic, then I can port back in.
It's really funny because if you look at the recording of our best attempt at that boss, you can see me getting back from the intermission and like desperately looking for where I should put my F-Flow. Like I put it down one place and I see like there's only 2 people standing in there, and I move it somewhere else. And then you can see me give up and just put it down on top of myself and just be like, fuck all y'all. At least I'm going to stand in it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Dementius wise though, that boss on Heroic is, I don't know. Like if you have a blood DK or if you have any DK, that boss on Heroic is essentially the normal fight, but harder. Like there's not
because
much different.
The only difference is in the first phase, the circles will leave like area denial, right? So you have to
Yep.
be smart with where you land those circles. And then in the third phase, the tank will have that pull mechanic, right?
Mhm.
But that's
And then
kind of pretty easy to deal with.
yeah, the second phase has the ads, but like I said, if
Right.
you have a DK, it's a joke. Like you just ignore that mechanic.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
I hate
I don't
that.
know. Demencius is another one of those fights, and like I said earlier, with the like do the whole dungeon and then hit a hard boss. Like Demencius is like hardest part up front kind of boss, which for Prague is nice, right? Like
Mhm.
it isn't like Sylvanas where we have like a 15-minute boss fight or whatever it was, but the hardest part of the fight was like the last 4 minutes, 3 minutes. And
Yeah.
so you spend the entire 11 minutes reprogging every single time you wipe.
I get that. And I agree with the way it feels, but I also really like when a boss is perfectly designed so that the final moments of the fight are the hardest moments,
Yeah.
because it really leads to this natural sense of escalation, of tension, of fun, and I really like those fights where you're fighting against the clock. Like, I mean, this fight kind of does it right, where you're slowly running out of planets, you're slowly running out of space as the space shrinks. But it does seem like, and again, I haven't done the fight, but it does seem like even though you have that slow shrinkage of area, um, you're just probably on heroic, at least it's probably going to be a relative non-issue. You're going to have, as long as you do the mechanics right, you're going to have enough time before it really becomes an issue. Which I know it's very hard to nail the balance of this stuff right, um, especially like how this is something, I complained about Fractalus last week about how the DPS check was basically non-existent, but like, to be charitable to Blizzard, how do you nail the DPS check on a boss on week 4 of heroic with people of various skill levels, right? Like, how do you get, like, that's a needle you have to thread. Like, I think it's fair to say that Blizzard nailed the Demencius mythic check, right? Like, that fight was in the Race to World First way barely possible at the time that it was being progged. It was possible, but it was barely possible, to not require any adjustments or nerfs or anything. It was barely possible. They nailed
Mhm.
that. And like, the ultimate idea is that every single fight that you experience as a player is like barely possible at your current skill level and gear level and stuff. But like, it's impossible to do that for
Yeah.
bosses, because you never know when the person's going to be getting there. You never know what the average item level of the raid is, the average skill level. It's just impossible. So like, it's very possible that another guild got to Fractalus on the same week that I did, and the DPS check was really tight for them. I'm not speaking bad about them. That's just like, there's different levels of skill and there's different levels of gear and there's all this stuff. So like, I don't want to complain about that, because it's just it's kind of an impossible target to hit. But it is like, it is always great. It is always, it does feel good when you hit the boss at that moment where you just barely have enough time and skill and gear to kill it. And it's always a little disappointing when you get to that phase 3. Like, but like Razagath, by the time we got to the last phase of Razagath, like, it's just like, it wasn't that bad.
Yep. Yeah. And I was trying to think the last time that I feel like they really nailed this. And I think the last time that I can remember that I really felt like this was nailed was Sludge Fist in the first season of Shadowlands.
Yeah, I didn't do that one.
That boss was a banger. I loved that boss. But I don't know, Scott. I know we're in a little bit of a lull period right now, but I don't really have much else to cover for today. So unless there's something else that I didn't add here that you're thinking of.
I mean, the only thing I'll mention briefly is that I'm seeing a lot of posts about Legion Remix, and it does seem like, we had the first wave of testing over Legion Remix. People were not very happy with it. We talked about this a little last week, that it just seemed like they were kind of sapping the fun out of what people like in Remix. And there have been 2 PTR builds since we recorded that, that have upped the relative power level of people upped the speed at which you level and acquire power. So it does seem like they are aware of those issues and are tinkering it in order to kind of bring the fun back. I'm still a little worried that they are over engineering, like we talked about last week, but I am like, my excitement level for Legion was very, very high, and then it dropped down pretty far, and now it's like kind of slowly rising again.
I still think the biggest thing that they could do to salvage Legion Remix for a lot of players who play the retail version of this game is not have it released the same day the Turbo Boost releases.
I mean, and it seems like that's what's going to happen, and I do think that's a terrible idea because I want to play Legion Remix, but I also want to gear up my character in Turbo Boost and then like push for some higher keys, right? And like I frankly, like, depending on how long Legion Remix lasts, not sure I'm going to have time to do both.
Yep.
So yeah, I agree with you. I wonder if there's like Legion Remix will technically be part of patch 11.25, but they time gate it. I mean, let's be honest, they already are time gating it, right? They're disguising time gating as phases. This is going to be phases of this, which fine, whatever. But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, they are releasing pretty quickly behind each other, though. And I think that, like, in an ideal world, right, like each release has enough content to carry you through to the next release without feeling like you're missing something. I think they're missing that mark a little bit right now with the current cadence that they're planning, but we'll have to see.
Yeah. But yeah, I think that's all there is to talk about now.
Well, that's I want to say for next week, my biggest thing that I want to kind of like get an idea on is what the current status of like the majority of the player base is, because we get the printouts and graphs for Mythic Plus, and we get like damage numbers and logs for raid. But I am curious because I think on paper this raid has had faster AOTC kills for a lot of guilds than they have in the past. And I also feel like people got into like 10s and 12s faster than they have in the past. Like, I feel like this season has been a little bit accelerated. And I like, part of me questions whether that is or is not intentional, given the fact that like we're theoretically looking at a 6-month season, but I mean, we're living in a world where it could be a 5-month season. Like,
Sure,
it could be less. So I wonder if this is like fabricated almost by Blizzard, but it's something I want to kind of talk about and look into next week.
Yeah, I mean, we could definitely talk about it more next week. The one thing I'll say is that the Reshi wraps are very powerful.
True.
And I think tier sets are very powerful. And so I think like the average power level of a player is relatively higher this season than it has been in previous seasons. So that could be part of it.
Sure. All right, guys. Well, my question is, are you still pushing hard this season, or are you just in the Turbo Boost waiting room right now? Or maybe even worse, the Midnight waiting room?
Oh, gosh.
If you are waiting for Midnight right now, I'm sorry. I wish you would have had a better time this season. Maybe try an alt. But hopefully you're not in that situation. Hopefully you're still going hard on the game, but kind of want to get an idea where the listeners are at currently, because I think Scott and I are still going pretty hard on this season. I'm dabbling with maybe looking at another character. I don't know. Time is a bit of a hot commodity right now, so we'll tough, see how that goes.
It's tough. It is tough.
But anyways, guys, contact us over at yellingintothevoidwow@gmail.com. YouTube is at yellingintothevoidwow, and Twitter is at intothevoidwow.
And if you are not already subscribed to Yelling Into the Void, please do so right this very minute. Subscribe on whatever device you're listening to. You can find us on all of those things: iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, and pretty much anywhere else podcasts can be found. If you like listening to the video version, that is available on Spotify as well. You are still uploading that to Spotify, right? You're not making me a liar.
I might have forgotten the last episode, but I have done it for about a month straight.
Mm-hmm.
So those are there, and the previous episode will be there too. It takes me about 2 seconds to upload. So now that I've been reminded, I will upload the last episode as well for the video.
Perfect. Yeah. I don't know if you people like video podcasts. I've been more and more into them as I have dabbled with them. So if you want to listen on video but still on your device, I think Spotify doesn't give us any money, unfortunately, but I think I've been satisfied with their product, is what I'll say.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And lastly, please consider liking, subscribing, and commenting on YouTube, Spotify, anywhere else. All of these are helpful. It gets us more exposure, introduces us to new people, and allows us to continue to make the content we make here. Also, we had a bunch of people comment on the YouTube video last week, and I thoroughly enjoy talking with you guys. So keep that up, please, because
it was great.
That was
it
nice.
was great. Even when I disagree with you entirely. No, just kidding.
That's never happened before, Scott.
No, we appreciate it. It is a lot of fun seeing people engage with it and stuff like that. So, yeah.
All right, guys. Well, until next week, where we hopefully will have a little bit more to talk about, maybe some midnight spoilers or something along those lines. I doubt it, but maybe we'll just be over here yelling into the void.